Hey guys, welcome to this week's review of The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 16, Episode 2. Let's get into it. This was a great start to the second episode. I'm entertained, okay? Let's just say that. So let's get into the review. Emily and Gina, they are both messy, but you know what? I love them. I love them for the show. They're doing their job, right? Gina goes up to Heather and decides at her party she's going to tell her about Nicole suing her husband. Now, yes, this is messy, right? Because in real life, maybe a party isn't the best place to have this conversation. Maybe she could have reached out to her later on for lunch or something and explain what was going on. So Gina was messy for that. But I don't know. I kind of get where Gina is coming from in terms of telling Heather. Maybe in real life you would keep your mouth shut. I know that sounds terrible, especially if you don't really know the person that well. You more so know Shannon, right? If I was Gina and this was real life, I would kind of push Shannon to tell Heather herself, right? Instead of me doing it, seeing that I don't know Heather, so why would I be the one, let alone at her party, to have this conversation? But I guess Gina's logic is, and especially with the reality shows, like, we know how it goes. We know how secrets like this can fester and become a bigger deal than it really is, right? And it is going to look kind of sketchy if everybody knows the secret and you're the only one out of the loop. So maybe Gina wanted to kind of cleanse her hands of that, but it definitely backfired on her because Heather wasn't feeling her. And I don't blame Heather because I don't know. I don't think Gina and Emily are as sincere as they try to come off, even the interaction with Emily and Nicole, right? Even before they got into their argument, like, you could tell that Emily was sort of poking Nicole, but Nicole didn't really, it kind of went over Nicole's head because she didn't know that they knew about, her suing Heather's husband, right? Because remember when Emily was poking Nicole's boobs and like, oh, your boobs are so nice, right? Like, we know that the reason you made that comment is because you know that she sued Heather Dubrow's husband, right? That's why you're bringing it up. So you are being messy, right? So fast forward when Emily and Nicole have their moment, like, Emily is just inserting herself like, well, you should have told Heather, which I agree, right? Nicole, yes, it was 20-something years ago, right? And we learned later that she ended up dropping the lawsuit, right? And she didn't really want to sue him. She felt pressured. So I think it's something that she kind of regrets, doesn't feel good about. And it was so long ago that's like, oh, okay, why bring it up? And then, the longer you keep a secret going, it's harder to come out with it, right? And you could tell when Heather and her husband approached Nicole, she just started breaking down crying. Like, you could tell that she felt really bad about it, right? But another side of that, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of like she probably felt, I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say this, right? She probably thought that maybe being friends with Heather was an asset to her, right? And especially now when she's on this show, right? You don't want to isolate yourself from the person that brought you onto the show, even though it seems like they were friends for 6 years, right? Whatever that means. So I don't think she wanted to do anything to sabotage that. but she should have just told them at the end of the day, right? Because when she started to break down and cry, it seemed like Heather's husband came in a little hot. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, what's going to happen? Is he going to cuss her out? Right? But then the energy just shifted when she started to cry. And I like that Heather and her husband, they forgave her and they let it go. Because at the end of the day, nothing came from it. She does feel bad for what she did, and she was young, and it's like, who cares at this point? Obviously, look at Heather's home, right? Look at where they're living. They're doing absolutely fine. So there's no point to be upset over something that happened so long ago. He is a plastic surgeon. Complications can happen with that. He's probably, I wouldn't say used to getting sued. I don't think a doctor wants to get used to being sued, but it does happen. So they handled it really maturely, right? And I can understand Heather. It was so hilarious, right? Because Gina thought she was being the good guy by telling Heather, but Heather pulled Gina and Shannon to the side she didn't cuss them out, but she let them know about herself, right? I don't understand why Heather was so mad at Gina, right? But I think it's more so the timing, really and truly. Like, this is her party, right? And she spent, $36,000? And it was crazy to me. Like, I don't know. So it's edited. So we don't know everything that went down. But it seems like they weren't really able to actually sit down and eat. The party just ended prematurely because of all this drama. So I can understand her being mad at Gina because you essentially effed up the party. But at the same time, if you forgave Nicole, right, and you guys were able to work it out, I don't understand why the party was ruined. I don't understand why you had to shut down the whole thing. And I don't know, but people are allowed to go through their waves of emotion. Maybe Heather was really upset at first because not knowing the full details, she probably thought it was something more serious than it was, right? And this is her husband's livelihood. So if the lawsuit had been something more severe and it's being caught on camera, this could really damage them and her husband's livelihood. So I can understand her maybe having that moment where she was like, I'm done. So let's go back to Emily and Nicole, right? Emily is, kind of lecturing Nicole and telling her what she should have, could have done, being nosy. It's really, I appreciate Emily, let me just say that, because she's asking the questions that the audience wants to know, right? But in real life, she was being messy, and I think that Nicole had every right to tell her to be quiet. If I want your opinion and whatever, then I'll ask for it. For now, that's a conversation that me and Heather are going to have, and that has absolutely nothing to do with you. And then Emily was like, I liked you. I was your friend. And Nicole, oh my gosh, why isn't Nicole a housewife? Because she was reading Emily. Because she was like, girl, you're 20 minutes. You're 20 minutes, girl. Like, what are you talking about? And I agree, because like I said, I felt like Emily was being kind of fake and shady with Nicole the whole time. You were not being her friend. At no point were you trying to look out for her or whatever. You were digging for information. And that's okay, because you don't really know her like that. But when she calls you out, don't go back and say, oh, I was your... No, you were not her friend in that moment. And you're not being... Like, just stop. Right? And then the girl says, have a seat. And they're like, well, I am sitting. It's like, you know what she's trying to say, guys, okay? Yes, Emily, you're literally you're being seated, but she means, like, calm down. Okay? You know what she's trying to say. So stop. So, like, I don't know. It just got heated between the two. And at the end of the day, I don't know why Emily got so angry, just cursing, and she had to storm out, and she's like, Gina, you come with me. Don't you talk to her. You come with me. And I don't know. Okay, fine. Nicole called her stupid. Nicole told her to eat your sushi, bitch. Okay, I get that, right? Those are fighting words, but Emily, I'm sorry, you came into the situation hot yourself. You came and she told you somewhat politely to listen, if I want your opinion, I will ask you, but this is between me and Heather. You chose to keep digging and digging and digging. You actually leaned forward in your chair and was in her face. So it's listen, if you can't handle it, don't dish it out to other people. So I don't understand why she was so angry, right? And then, she has a moment with Gina, and then Gina and Emily finally get back inside to the party, right? And then she sees Shannon, and she was like, Shannon, oh my gosh, before I thought you were lying and this was all nonsense, but you are totally right. You are right. She did sue her. You could tell the glee in her face, right? Because she was over Nicole. She was over. And even when she was like, oh, Nicole, she looks like me, but I'm the better version. What are you talking about? You and Nicole look nothing alike. Nothing. Both are beautiful women, but you guys don't look alike. So what are you talking about? So I don't know. It seems like Emily was a bit insecure, maybe. She was a bit tipsy. I don't know why she was getting herself so involved. Let's talk about somebody else now. Noella. She's absolutely gorgeous. I loved her hair with the long braid and the butterflies in it and everything. And she seems to be getting along with the ladies, right? She's playing the game. I did find it kind of weird when she saw Heather's daughter and she was like, oh, you're bisexual. I'm bisexual too. And then later when, I don't know, you guys saw the trailer, right? The season trailer, and Heather is telling her I'm cool off of you because you sent my daughter pornography. So I don't know how that's going to unfold, but that scene is kind of weird. I know that Heather's daughter, just turned 18 as well. So it's not like her daughter is, say, 23, 24, 25, where she's kind of been grown for a while. Her daughter, yes, technically 18 is an adult, but I don't know. I still see her as a child, especially compared to Nicole. Has to probably be maybe mid-30s, late 30s, who knows? But she is a lot older, right? So I do think, I don't know. I just think that's kind of weird to do. Okay, I don't know. So, and we see, it seems like she's going to cross the line later on. There's nothing wrong with being open with your bisexuality, right? That's great. But this isn't a private scenario or situation. You are being filmed. This is on camera. So you do have to be respectful of other people's children and, kind of make sure that you're not putting them in awkward positionings, right? I don't know why this kind of reminds me of Jen and Meredith's son Brooks, right? Obviously, that situation went left, but it seems like this situation is going to go left too. I think when it comes to the kids, leave their sexuality out of it. You know what I mean? Say hi, bye, you look cute, whatever. If the children want to speak about their sexuality, let them do it on their own terms. You don't go and co-opt their narrative for a storyline. That's all I'm saying. Also, about that food, because I'm always about the food. The food at at Heather's party, what did she do with it? I hope they didn't throw all that sushi away, right? Did they give everybody at the party doggy bags? Did they let the caterers take it home? What did they do with that? I hope they didn't throw that away, right? Hell No, I would have still, like, everybody sit down and eat right now. I can't stand any of you guys, but we're not going to let this food go to waste. We're not. So I don't know. I hope they just didn't throw all that in the garbage. I hope someone ate it. Okay, that's enough about the food. So the next day, Heather and her husband are talking about it, and yeah, we learned that they spent $36,000 on that party. Oh my gosh. And I'm sorry, if I spend $36,000 on a party, we are having the party, right? I don't care if everyone gets into a fight. I don't care if someone slaps me in the face. We are having this party till completion. We are completing this party. I'd rather kick the cameras out and the cast out and be like, okay, you guys need to go. I'm going to have this party for my friends right here. Okay, my real friends. But whatever. So they're kind of discussing why Shannon would do something like this. And Shannon, it's funny. At the party, by the end, I did feel kind of bad for her. But you did tell Emily and Gina, right? You did hint at something on camera, right? So you brought this information to the group. If you genuinely didn't want anybody to know, you could have told your boyfriend. You and your boyfriend could have gossiped about Nicole and what was going on with her, right? If you genuinely wanted to keep it a secret. But you told Emily and Gina. Like, you know that they're not going to keep their mouth shut, right? So obviously you brought this up for it to be talked about. Now, I'm not mad at it as an audience member, right? I'm not going to fault Shannon too much because I don't think it was that big of a deal or that big of a secret. But next time, I think Shannon would have looked a little bit better if she just went to Heather directly, right? Instead of telling them, don't say anything, hush, hush. And then you have everybody keeping the secret for what? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So Shannon deserved what she got at the end of the day. You know, I don't know what she was trying to do, or I don't know how she thought that was going to play out where she didn't look like a big dummy, but it is what it is. Moving on. Who else? Okay, so we have Jen, the new girl, and her husband. And oh my gosh. I'm not a traditional person, right? Especially when it comes to marriage and whatever. I'm probably more traditional than non-traditional, but I'm not traditional, right? So it's like, it's weird. On the surface, if you would ask me, like, how would you feel about someone where, like, a relationship where the woman was the main provider and the man was the one that stayed at home? And I would be like, well, you know what? If it works for them, it works for them. And then we have Jen and her husband, and I'm seeing it play out, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel a bit uncomfortable with that because, and it's not even that the husband isn't working, it's the fact that he just seems on top of that emotionally disconnected. I don't know if it's the awkwardness of the cameras being there, like I said before, but he's just kind of weird, you know, playing with his little chihuahua at the table in the restaurant while he's eating. While other people are eating, I just find it a bit strange. And when she was breaking down about maybe, because she has a little bit of guilt of her not being with her children as much as she feels she should be, right? He's not comforting. He kind of tries to comfort her, but she's kind of starting to cry. And he's like, well, let's just not talk about it. You know, like, I don't know. He didn't reach over to the table to kind of give her a hug or, you know, stroke her thigh or her shoulder to make her feel a little bit better about what was going on and let her. And sometimes when we go through things, we don't necessarily want somebody to fix the situation. We just want to be heard, right? And he was like he was shut down from the beginning, eating his Brussels sprouts. Yuck. Ugh. You know, he showed more affection to the dog. He's there petting the dog before he pets his wife. Okay, I'm not gonna judge too harshly because this is only the second scene with her and her husband. Okay, so I'm gonna wait, right? I'm gonna wait. But I don't know, like, I could see on one end, I can see how they could be compatible, right? If she is really ambitious and she wants to do all these things, and you still want to have children, right? I understand where it would make sense to have your partner, whether, you know, yes, it is the man in this situation being more of the caregiver, right? In order for that family structure to work. But on the other hand, I don't know necessarily if they're equally yoked in that way. Like if she's really ambitious and wants to have a lot of stuff going on, especially as the kids get older and they get more independent, it's gonna be like, okay, do they really have enough in common with each other? Not that you have to be exactly like your partner for you guys to be compatible, but listen, their relationship, it seems to have worked for them for a long time. So if it works, it works, right? We're only seeing a snapshot here. So I'm not gonna judge them too harshly because I'm gonna wait to the next episode and the one after that. Okay, moving on. So we get a scene with Shane and Emily, and that's another, you know, couple that, you know, a lot of people have had opinions on, including myself. You know, I don't know, like, it's on the surface, they don't seem like a great match, but the more I see of them, right, this is like the third season now of them, you know, personality-wise, I do think that they have a similar kind of humor, right? You know, I think they have that banter, the sarcasm and whatever, where for somebody else that would drive them nuts, but for them it works, right? I think they do have a good friendship and their relationship seems to be in a better place than it was a couple of seasons ago. I guess Shane is just not that romantic type of guy. He's a sarcastic type of guy. And if that's what Emily wants, then that's fine and whatever. But, you know, last season we know that Shane, he got COVID and he was really, really sick and they thought he was going to pass, right? So it's great now that they're in a better place. They did talk a bit about their daughter and how she's getting baptized. And just a quick comment on that. Like, a lot of people are born into the religion. They don't really have a choice, or as a kid, at least, you don't really have that freedom to make the decision like, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. You are what your parents are. So I guess it's kind of good that, you know, Emily's daughter can decide for herself what religion she wants to follow at the age of 8, you know, but whatever. Kudos to Emily and her family. I don't know what my point was at all. I don't. But another point on religion, I wonder how religious Shane is, and then Emily is not religious at all. So I wonder how that kind of works. Do they sort of, because Emily doesn't have a religion, is she agnostic? Is she atheist? Do they kind of sort of default to Shane's religion? I believe Shane is Mormon, you know? So, and when I think Mormon, I'm thinking of Salt Lake City and I'm not gonna get into it. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Done. Kudos to Shane and Emily. So Heather, Emily, and Gina, they all meet for lunch, right? And they discuss everything that went down. And Gina spoke about when she found out her husband was having an affair. her husband actually took her to the mistress's barbecue. Wow. Like, wow. So everybody, or okay, I'm not going to say everybody at the party, but probably a lot of people at that barbecue knew that something was going on, and Gina was oblivious. And she's there, you know, having a good time, da-da-da-da-da, until she gets home and she realizes the truth. And after hearing that story, like I said, I did feel like, maybe Gina, you shouldn't have told Heather at her party. You know, maybe you should have, you know, went to lunch or something. But then I can understand a little bit of why, yeah, that must have been triggering, right? Like, I can understand her feeling a bit yucky and then feeling a bit fake if you have, like, not everybody at the party, but you have some people at the party knowing this big thing is going on and Nicole's there and you feel like you're being fake and you're not truthful. You know, so I do get that as well. And she probably didn't think it was going to be as big of a blow up as it was, right? But it is what it is. And I also like that Heather apologized, right? Because I didn't get why Heather was so mad at Gina, right? But then, yeah, I mean, she did kind of mess up her party, I'm not going to lie. But Heather was able to realize that, okay, Gina wasn't really being malicious. She was just trying to let me know what was going on. And when you don't really know somebody, you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what they're trying to do, right? Because it's like Gina could have been being malicious, right? Or she could have been being. She could have. I do think that Gina meant well, right? But when you don't know somebody too well, you don't know which way it's gonna go, right? So I get Heather's reaction, but I'm happy that they were able to move past that. And it seems like Emily, Gina, and Heather are going to be ganging up against Shannon. And I already felt like Shannon was on shaky ground with everybody, you know, once her friends Vicky and Tamara were gone. I do feel like I don't know if she really belongs in the group too much anymore. And this whole situation kind of just made it worse. But at the end of the day, she did bring it upon herself. So I don't feel too bad about her, because she goes and tells Heather that Gina and Emily are not to be trusted, right? Which I don't think is necessarily false. I don't think that Gina and Emily are to be trusted at all. At all. But you can say that about all the cast members on these reality shows, right? You shouldn't, especially, like, it doesn't seem like Shannon was great buddies with Emily and Gina to begin with. So I don't know why she would trust them to keep a secret. It's just very obvious that she didn't want this secret kept. Let's just say that. She wanted it to get out there, right? So when Shannon said they're not to be trusted, I'm not going to say that is a lie, but Heather made a great point where she's like, you say they're not to be trusted, yet you told them the secret, and then get mad at them when they betrayed you and told everybody and told me the secret. So obviously you didn't want this to be a secret, right? You just wanted it to come out in a way in which you didn't look like the bad guy. So Shannon's gonna have an interesting season. Like, I don't know. I mean, Shannon is great television, so I think they're gonna definitely hold on to her, right? As long as they can hold on to her. I feel like they'll bring people in to be friends with Shannon before they let Shannon necessarily go, because they know she's gonna bring it, right? So it is what it is. Okay, guys, this was a good episode. It was. I really enjoyed it. That's everything.